Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania just came out a week ago. I've seen it twice now. I like to see these movies twice before I do reviews. This is the first review on this channel. Today we're going to be reviewing, of course, the Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'll give you my thoughts about it. I'll give you my thoughts about the future of the MCU. Without further ado, let's get into this review. See what I did there? When we do reviews on this channel, we like to go pros, then cons, then I give you my overall thoughts about the movie. So let's start, of course, with the pros about Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania. But before we get into the pros, this will be spoiler-driven. Spoiler alert here. This is your warning. Do not watch this if you haven't watched the movie, if you don't want it to be spoiled. So now, without further ado, let's get into the pros. First pro is I love Paul Rudd. I think he's an amazing actor. I've loved everything he's been in, and of course he's a great Ant-Man, and I think he's great in this film. Along with Jonathan Majors. I think Jonathan Majors plays a great Kang the Conqueror, and I was actually pretty excited going into this movie with Kang the Conqueror being the thing that is really driving me to this movie, honestly. Kang the Conqueror from the comics, now going to be this new big bad villain that people are gonna have to face, and I think Jonathan Majors played it very well. At times, Kang the Conqueror seems very, very powerful and very, very cool. Not Thanos level powerful and cool, and really this imminent threat. I think this was a good introduction to Kang's character. And honestly, Jonathan Majors' performance was really good in this. It looks pretty good. It looks really good, actually. They use the 3D green screen, as in The Mandalorian, and what I'm assuming all the Avengers movies from here on out will be using. It looks very good. Very great world building in this as they go into the quantum realm, and it looks just fantastic, especially when they are in the quantum realm. It looks really good. The last pro, yes, we're almost already done with pros, if you can tell where this is going. It's funny at times. There's some laughs. There was 2 times, maybe 3 times I laughed out loud. But other than that, we're not into the con section yet. But there are some great laughs in this for me, but not that many. But when it is funny, it's pretty funny. That's it for the pros. Not that many. Let's go into the cons, where there's a lot more. First thing I want to say about this movie that is bad is that the whole tone of the movie from the start of the movie is just off. The whole movie seems off tone-wise, because the first 2 Ant-Man and the Wasp movies, Ant-Man and then Ant-Man and the Wasp, are lighthearted, simple, funny. As I said, it was funny, but this movie's not, at least at first, trying to seem funny. I think this movie is trying to be serious for most of it, and then it gets cut down with these stupid one-liners and stupid cheesy jokes, and just, yes, they were funny at some times, but it stops how serious the plot actually is, because this is a serious plot. This is Kang the Conqueror we're talking about here, and he kills all this innocent civilians, and then it's cut with a cheesy-ass joke, and it's just like, come on now. What are we doing? I'd like to compare it to Infinity War, because Infinity War was a serious, imminent threat that's like so intense the whole way through, and a villain that actually succeeds. And this one, it's like there's this imminent threat, and it's Kang the Conqueror in the quantum realm, but there's like this silliness to it too that just doesn't mix well, and the tone of the movie is just off for me. Didn't enjoy that part of it. The next con we have is the inciting incident in No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home is a kid trying to do a spell to make everybody forget Spider-Man. During the spell, they have an argument, and they want to change the spell a little bit, and that's where it gets all screwed up, and people leak in from other multiverses. And in this one, they're about to jump in, they're about to use the quantum machine that Cassie Lang built, which we'll get to that in a second. It seems like if they just were to talk about the spell in No Way Home prior, maybe 30 seconds of conversation, it would have stopped the whole movie. It would have been like, hey, add this part and then add this part before you do it. They didn't do that, and instead it's kind of a stupid, silly thing that, starts it. And it was okay in No Way Home. It wasn't as frustrating in this one. It's like, oh, you did it again. MCU, you did it again. You used the same inciting incident as No Way Home in this one. That if you just had 30 seconds of convo before you started up the quantum machine, then you probably would have, not have gotten stuck in the quantum realm. So, I find it very unoriginal and not unique. Another con is everything they've shown you in the beginning of the movie doesn't really follow up throughout the whole movie. They show you things in the regular world, and then it's like, oh, we have to immediately go into the quantum realm and build this world and show Kang off to you and whatnot. And it's just like, yeah, but there's some good things there that you just threw away. And it makes those things seem like you're pushing an envelope, or you're showing us this and just telling us this, and you're not really just writing it in the story. There's no reason that we need to know this information. For example, Cassie Lang needs to be bailed out of prison by Scott Lang, Antman, her father. And she was at a peaceful protest, trying to do the right thing, and does it a wrong way. He has to go bail her out of jail. And when they get back home, he's obviously upset, but it is told to him that she had built a quantum machine or a quantum thing. They call it something, but she built a whole quantum machine in the basement. I mean, that it took Hank years to build this. She did it a couple days in a basement. So just by reading his journal, that's an interesting plot point. If that's what the movie was about, her being a genius and this rebel that gets in trouble, and that's an interesting plot point that could be a great third Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. That could be great. However, that's not what this movie's about, and it's not even close what this movie's about. This movie just tells you this, shoves it in your face, and then goes straight to the quantum realm and straight to King the Conqueror and MODOK. Don't get me started on MODOK. And yes, MODOK is in this movie, and MODOK, if you've read the comics, is this silly, comical character. But they take it to an extreme, and it's like the serious Kang character with this stupid-looking MODOK character. That's another con that I didn't even add on my notes, is that it's just two separate tones. That it goes with the tone. It's like you have this serious Kang the Conqueror character, and then you have this silly MODOK character, and you're looking at it, and you're like, what am I watching right now? It's like one of those movies. It's very, very weird, and I didn't really enjoy that part of it as well. Another thing that they spend no time on that it could be an interesting third Ant-Man and the Wasp movie is that it's a father seeing the world differently than his daughter. Because the blip happened, right? And he was stuck in the quantum machine for 5 years, and she thought he was dead. He comes back, and so he missed 5 years of her early life, her childhood, and what could have happened in this movie, and I really wish and hoped that happened in this movie, is that if it was about them trying to reconnect and Scott wanting to be with his daughter and connect on with his daughter, but the movie wasn't about that. It wasn't about any of that. It wasn't about her being a rebel or a genius or him wanting to connect with his daughter that he missed for 5 years. That's an interesting plot line, and you can also show the two generational perspectives, because in the beginning, Cassie lectures Scott about the daughter lectures her father about not doing enough. I mean, he just saved the fucking world. He just saved the fucking world from Thanos, and she's gonna sit here and saying, "You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. There's people out there homeless," and it's like, come on now, really? I mean, it could be interesting if the whole movie was about Scott and Cassie, then we have no problem here. But it's not about that. You're just telling us this, and it's just off-putting, not in the right place, doesn't fit in the whole movie, and again, it doesn't know what it is. It's mixing tones. I would have much preferred that storyline over what we got, in the quantum realm. But and I could respect the movie more, but I just can't. It's everywhere. This movie is literally everywhere, and it's just not enjoyable at all. Back to Cassie Lang being a genius. I just read this in my notes and I forgot about it. It took Tony Stark, right? Because he's a genius, right? And he built the Iron Man suit in a cave and all this stuff. But it's a fitting piece to a character that fits his character. He also had to build it to survive and escape and whatnot, but he has years of experience. His father was a genius. His whole backstory. But then Cassie's thrown in and just like, hey, she's a genius. Deal with it. Deal with her building a quantum machine in the basement in about a week. Just deal with it. And I don't really like that. And MCU's not really trusting plot construction or character building or the story. Like what I loved about MCU, and I'm not gonna use phases. I'm not using that, okay? Because now you're just like you're gonna go to phase 10, and it's gonna end in phase 10, and we're gonna get all these shitty movies. Listen, at the beginning of MCU with Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Avengers, all that, right? All those movies is that they build characters and they introduce the story and they Ant-Man. Yeah, again, it's the third Ant-Man movie, and maybe you don't have to introduce the story of Ant-Man. You don't have to introduce Scott again. But you do have to introduce his daughter, and you do have to introduce Kane the Conqueror and MODOK in this new thing, which I think you did a very bad job about. You're really just using the same bag of tricks that has helped you in the past and just to get the money grab. And I really can't respect movies like that. And it's just, MCU needs to get back to that. Introducing characters, building the characters, getting into your story, casually, instead of just like, boom, here's your characters, here's what they're going through in the real world, and then boom, put them in the quantum realm, world build, King the Conqueror. It's just like no pacing to it at all, and no building up to something. It's just, in the first 20 minutes or something, 15 minutes, they're in the quantum realm. They spent 15 minutes in the real world talking about all the things I've been talking about. I haven't even gotten into that's just in the first 15, 20 minutes. It's not, listen, I get the people that they enjoyed this movie. I get the people that enjoyed this movie. However, you have to realize that it's cheap. It's easy. And it's just like, if we just throw a whole bunch of money at it, it'll make a whole bunch of money if we make it look good. And yeah, it does look good. But it's just like, at some point, people are going to crave story and plot that you gave them in 2008 to 2019. And the past 5 years or so have been, other than No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, has been absolutely shit. Absolutely shit. And this one is probably the worst out of them all. TV shows and movies. It's probably the worst out of them all. It also has weird Star Wars vibes. Like King the Conqueror is like this Darth Vader with stormtroopers, and it's in this world. It just feels like Star Wars to me. And I've seen people make the same comparison, and it just doesn't fit in the same trilogy of the first two movies that were simpler, just goofier, right? And you put in this like the serious Star Wars plot, and you throw away everything that was simple in the beginning of the movie, and it just, again, the tone of the movie, the feel of the movie, it just doesn't fit anywhere at any time, really. This movie tries so hard to be serious, but it fails at it. Because Kang the Conqueror in this movie never once felt a fraction or even close to any of the other big threats we have seen. Loki doesn't feel like a huge threat as Loki. It doesn't feel as a huge threat as Thanos. It doesn't feel a huge threat as even Ultron in Age of Ultron. It doesn't ever get to that point where like, oh, they're in big trouble. Which I think is a very big issue because, you predict, oh, they're going to win this. I mean, he doesn't seem that powerful. And at times he shows his power and we're like, okay, yes, and then he gets rid of it. Like, he's literally mowing down people with these beams through his hands, and then he goes, pew, 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 and then he gets beat. It's just like, it's so close, it seems, at times, but they're nanoseconds at times. And then it's like, here you go, here's something to ruin your mood. No character development in this movie, I've touched on a little bit, and it's just all towards world building. And Kang, in the comics was, he's I'm not a huge comics guy, but I know King the Conqueror is supposed to be this big villain, this really, really tough villain that that people have to defeat. And, it took literally everyone to defeat Thanos. Literally everyone in Endgame, right? And then King the Conqueror comes in here and he gets beat by Ant-Man that isn't big or small and using his power. It's just like, man, you got beat by Ant-Man. And do all respect to people who like Ant-Man. All respect to Ant-Man himself. But he is what he is, right? He's kind of a joke hero to me. His first two movies were just funny, right? And they were simpler, and they were lighthearted, and they were fun to watch. And then this one, it's like, he beat Kang the Conqueror. Come on, man. And if Kang the Conqueror was so big and so powerful, and wouldn't you lose somebody? You don't lose anybody. It shows, Ant-Man, almost die. And I thought they were going to bring Kang back. But no, he dies. He dies. Predictable ass ending, as usual, as per usual, when people don't spend any time on writing and they just use it all on shooting. I feel like this movie is very skippable. So pointless to watch, in my opinion. It's just so skippable. It's just mid. It's 100% mid. I would rate it super low. I really would. But there are some good redeeming qualities at times. The action sequences of Ant-Man are really, really good. He does what you want Ant-Man to do. He crushes buildings. He goes really small at moments, and he's just like everything you want Ant-Man to do, he does in this movie. However, everything else, it seems, is just so bad. Even the pros. I said it was funny. Even the pros are cons in themselves because, again, serious times. Serious times, you throw in a joke there and it brings me out of the seriousness. I just don't like it. Paul Rudd, Jonathan Majors were good. Other than that, it's just horrible. And you see the Rotten Tomatoes scores of it, and it makes sense. Last time I saw it was at 47% of Rotten Tomatoes. I have to look it up right now. It's probably lower. It probably will go lower than Eternals, which was previously the worst MCU movie rated by Rotten Tomatoes. So when you look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I think this is the worst MCU movie by far. By far. I at least can enjoy Eternals, and I'd probably rank Eternals about, a 4.7. This one's going all the way down to 3 or 2-ish area. I'm not going to lie. This movie is an atrocity. It really is. And in the MCU, I'm scared for the future of the MCU. I think MCU fans are going to be lost. I really do. Unless you're a really true hardcore comic book fan, I don't really see you lasting if the movies are like this. And people will probably just watch them just cause, and then, if there is a good movie down the line, they'll be like, oh, hey, that was pretty good. But the other ones really just suck, man. And when you have another movie that you're building up to, like Infinity War Endgame, because that's ultimately their goal, I believe, you got to have an audience, and you got to have people that care about these characters, or it's just going to fall flat. And sooner rather than later, you're going to lose some of your audiences because they're going to get sick of these same old tricks that you're doing. Then no plot, no character development. It's just a horrible movie. It's one of the worst movies I've seen to date this year in 2023. So we're gonna rate this a 3.9. A 3.9. I think it's that bad of a movie. So, if I was Rotten Tomatoes, it'd be ranked 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's a good area for this movie. It is not great. It's not good. But there's some good parts about it. So we won't go all the way down to 2, but we'll give it a 3.9 out of 10. You can skip the movie theaters on this one, in my opinion. I really do believe so. So, thank you guys for watching this review on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. If you want more reviews like this, let me know down in the comment section, and I'll review any movie you want, past, present, future. We'll react to trailers. We've reacted to a trailer already on this channel. Just let me know anything you want me to review. I'll review it. I'll rewatch it for you. I'll do that for you. The War of the Movies, out.